Hi, this is Bill Walton for Bill Walton Sales Training, Amazon best-selling author and Quilly Award winner. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is part two of our three-part series on delivering sales training and thinking about sales learners in our current time of crisis. Again, thank you for joining. Today I wanted to really spend some time thinking about training with our audience being sales trainers and certainly salespeople as we look to keep our saw sharp and continue to deliver value to our clients and prospects. One of the things to think about as we all are now working virtually and spending more time on screens and webinar platforms and text and instant messenger and other forms of chat, whether it be video chat or text chat, is that there are some similarities and differences when thinking about distributing learning, in particular sales training. And I want to share with you a very easy model to think about as you get ready to modify some of your materials or absorb or take on or engage in any type of sales training. So hopefully what I can do today is share with you a model and then kind of break those pieces down for you to think about what we should consider when delivering learning in this interesting time that we all find ourselves in. So let me share with you the model first. I call it define, train, and sustain. There is so much about virtual sales training that's very similar to the classroom. But as you can imagine, there are some differences. A couple differences that come to mind for me is energy level, managing distraction, and quickly shifting to activity and inserting various learning modalities and training modalities to keep the learning fresh, to keep folks interested, and to keep the shelf life of buy-in very high. So define is really where we can get to this level of connection in a virtual environment is defining learning objectives and involving the learners before they even get to the virtual classroom. Here's what I mean by that. We've been very successful with our clients in talking to some key stakeholders, high performers, moderate performers, subject matter experts that engage in the sales process and involve themselves in delivering value. And we talk to those folks, and those conversations, anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes, we learn so much and they can be very valuable. Another opportunity is to think about distributing a survey, getting people's points of view, understanding their thinking around whatever the content might be, whether it's email marketing, whether it's value prop, whether it's thinking about working across multiple stakeholders, whatever it is, getting a confidential, comfortable survey out there to get people to really kind of emote and share with you where they really need some support and what their expectations are. And my thinking around that is, people love to kind of have a thumbprint on their learning experience, and I always believe that just adults in general buy into what they have a hand in creating. So that's kind of the part one of the model of define, train, and sustain as we think about virtual learning. Let's talk about the training itself. It's important to orchestrate or reorient your materials to take advantage and harness this different level of engagement. Learners in this environment want to solve problems, do things, fill out a grid, find some solution, come to some aha, and then talk about it and make meaning of it for themselves. So materials have to be engaging, that there has to be room to write, there has to be ahas, there has to be visuals, right, as we process as much as 60% of our learning message visually. We have to provide that in our materials. So the training is really powerful. We want to get discussion going. We want to ask people's opinion. We want to give people a chance to share and be thinking partners to one another. So that's how training is slightly different, the training itself in this model, in the define, train, sustain model for virtual learning. The third piece is what I call sustain. This is a big part of all of our training, but we've learned a lot. The sustaining piece of this virtual learning model is really powerful because we're doing a couple things here. We're actually doing three things here. We're bringing people back to the learning experience to make sure retention is high, and we come back to what we talked about. That's certainly number one. But the other two opportunities are very engaging and very powerful, and that's what I call a good news review, when folks have a chance to share their good news or some element of success, whatever they deem that to be relevant, whatever that is, certainly that's connected to the training. And then also challenging situations. I call it a tough case clinic, where they need some help advancing an opportunity or getting a question or thinking about how they deal with a certain situation. Typically, we run 3 to 6 of those sessions over 90 days. We sometimes call that the 90-day dash as our sustaining methodology to connect that back to the learning, so that the virtual learning is powerful on its own, but it's even more so now because we bracketed the training with an upfront kind of definition of what the training is all about. We engaged key stakeholders and got their point of view, and people have a thumbprint on the learning. And then on the back end, you have the sustainability piece where we're talking about good news. Folks have the chance to show off a little bit, but also get some support from their cohort and their leaders to think about how they can advance challenging opportunities. So that's our model of delivering virtual learning: define, train, and sustain. You can learn more on our website at billwaltonsalestraining.com. Either go to our blog or the events page. There's something for everyone. And so glad you could join me today. Again, I'm Bill Walton of Bill Walton Sales Training, and good selling, everybody.